The city of Denver passed a residential rental licensing program, yet fewer than 10% of landlords registered their rental properties. I'm Tony, and this is Real Estate Investing and Landlord News. All right, so I have an interesting article for you today, and it has to go over Denver's new residential rental licensing program. Now, I covered this in a video a little while back. I'm not exactly sure how long ago. I'd have to look through it. I make a new video every day, so I can't exactly remember. But what they wanted to do was they wanted all landlords to register their properties with the city, apply, and get a rental license. Now, actually getting landlords to comply with this was a little bit harder than they thought it was going to be. And as of right now, less than 10% of the rental units in the city are actually licensed. So, this isn't a knock against the landlords who didn't register more than it is a knock against the city for putting these kind of standards in place that are very difficult for landlords to comply with. Because a lot of landlords, they don't know the laws that are changing. They don't know everything that's happening with the city. And then there might be other legal issues and, privacy issues might be another issue that is causing landlords just not want to have to deal with it. Plus, if there's no punishment for them not doing it, then a lot of landlords are going to be like, well, I'm just not going to comply. So yeah, I'm not exactly sure what the real issue is and why less than 10% have registered, but hopefully they get more into that once I get into this article. So before I get into the article, go ahead, hit the like and subscribe button, and leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think, okay? What do you think of these landlord rental registration or licensing programs? I hate them, okay? I hate them. I do not like them. I think that they use these programs to target good landlords for punishments. And meanwhile, the bad landlords, they never register in the first place. They don't face any punishments. And, so basically the only ones who are getting screwed are the ones who are actually complying with the program. That's what happens in a lot of cities. So I participate in the registration program here in Omaha with my rental properties, just like I am required to by law, right? But, I always have this nagging thought that they're going to come in, they're going to start nitpicking and, really hit me hard with fines or ridiculous nonsense that, just isn't true. I'm a good landlord. I fix my property. I treat my tenants with respect. And, I keep the area in good shape, but no, why should I have to deal with the same compliance standards that, the bad landlord who just doesn't give a crap, what we should do is we should focus on our enforcement action on the bad landlords. Okay, there's already reporting systems in place so that tenants or neighbors or whoever can report code violations to the city. So we don't need this sort of registration or licensing programs, okay? Only thing it's doing, like I said, is punishing the good landlords. So anyway, let's get into this article and see what it says. This article is coming from westword.com, and it says, fewer than 1,800 multi-unit rentals met the January 1st licensing deadline. Yeah, and that's 1,800 out of more than 25,000 units that have to be registered within the city. So let's get into the article and see what it says. By January 1st, every multi-unit rental property in Denver was required to be licensed under the city's new residential rental licensing program. Of the estimated 25,000 multi-unit rental properties in the city, only 1,722 have officially been issued licenses, according to the latest count from the Denver Department of Excise and Licenses. As of January 9th, 621 licenses have been issued for single unit properties, which must be licensed by 2024, bringing the grand total of active residential licenses to 2,343. So yeah, I really doubt that they're going to have very good compliance with this, okay? I told you in the past about the city of Detroit, how the city of Detroit also has this kind of landlord registration program, and a lot of landlords, they're just not participating in the program, and the city doesn't have enough money to actually go out and enforce it on anyone. So there's just a ton of rentals that aren't registered, and nobody seems to care. Okay, and the only ones who are really suffering are the ones who are registered, the ones who are paying the licensing and the registration fees, because they're getting punished while the people who aren't registered, nothing is happening to them. And it's not just a delay in the processing that accounts for the low numbers. Excise and Licenses has only 814 pending applications after ramping up staffing efforts and simplifying the process of getting a license. We're doing everything we can to make this process and application as simple as possible for both the applicant and the city, Excise and Licenses Executive Director Molly Dupletchian told Westword in November. To get a license, properties must pass an inspection showing that they meet the city's minimum housing standards. The license is a requirement of the Healthy Residential Rentals for All ordinance passed by Denver City Council in May 2021 in an attempt to even the playing field between renters and landlords. Yeah, they can pass that all they want, right? But then the real question is, right, are people going to comply? Okay? And will this actually help make the rental housing stock better? And I don't think it will. I honestly don't believe that this sort of program works. So they're going to send inspectors out. They're going to make landlords pass this inspection, right? And what's going to happen is, simply put, maybe properties will pass the initial inspection, but they will not be inspected for a long time after that. And so then that's when the problems arise. Usually when the tenants move in, the properties are in good shape. The properties arise a year, 2, 3 years later as they slowly decline and become in worse shape. Now, Excise and Licenses will start tracking down properties that didn't get licensed in time to get them in compliance, using the same method it uses to find unlicensed short-term rental properties, which the city began licensing in 2016 when it hired a company to scrape the internet looking for advertisements for short-term rentals, where the property is rented for 1 to 29 days, often through VRBO or Airbnb. The same process will apply to residential landlords. Once the company makes a list of advertised rentals, it will compare the list to the properties listed on the licensing portal, providing the city a roster of possible unlicensed rentals. That's not going to work, okay? Simply put, there are so many properties out there that are rented by word of mouth, that have been rented for a very long period of time, where there might not even be a lease in place, where the advertising, they won't be able to catch the advertising. There are just countless rental properties out there right now. Some people are renting spare bedrooms in their houses, so how are they going to find all of them? They're not. It's simply put impossible. So, they can scrape the internet, maybe they'll catch some people. The people can, they'll claim whatever they claim, or maybe they'll just ignore it, okay? But, they are going to be scraping a lot. They're going to be searching for a lot of people. And, Denver's not a small place. It is a big, big city. Hundreds of thousands of people live there. And you're not going to be able to find every single rental property in there. There's going to be people who just fly under the radar. Okay. I personally, I have a friend who is a landlord as well, and he rents almost exclusively by word of mouth. I do everything through a property manager, but back when I was self-managing, I was going through, like Facebook Marketplace. I was going through Craigslist ads, Zillow, etc. And that's how I found tenants, but he does word of mouth. Our investigative team investigates each address, and if it is found that the suspected illegal operator is operating without a required license, the landlord is contacted and notified that they must get a license, explains Eric Escudero, Director of Communications for Excise and Licenses. If the landlord refuses, they will receive a citation and a $150 fine. If they continue to refuse, they could receive a second citation with a $500 fine, and even a third citation with a $999 fine. Every refusal after the third will result in an additional $999 fine, but the department hopes it won't come to that point with any landlord. And landlords probably are going to refuse, pay the $150, or they're just going to ignore, because if they give the person the complaint and then they acknowledge that they received it, then that opens them up to getting more additional fines. But if they just pretend like they never received it, and in the case of many LLCs that have PO boxes, etc., they can just like, oh, I never got that in the mail, I don't even know what you're talking about. Maybe they'll be able to play it off, right? So there's going to be a lot of landlords who aren't complying with this, even with this little ridiculous fine structure that they have. And there's a lot who don't want to comply. So I don't know if this law is being legally challenged. That might be another reason why landlords don't want to participate, because they're waiting to see, the outcome of the legal case. But I just don't like the idea that, hey, we're going to force landlords to register their properties, get them inspected all the time, when there's no need for it. Okay, there were already processes in place to go after those bad landlords who weren't taking care of their properties, and rather than using those processes, they always want to pass brand new rules, brand new regulations that make it even harder for us to operate our businesses.